This is Rich, the founder of Product Gym, and today we're going to go ahead and tackle a problem, which is product management case studies and exactly what product management case studies has to do with salary. You have, let me give you a hint. You have a really good case study, you're going to have a really good salary negotiation. Having said that, overall, there's so much information in here, and the last video I did, which got a lot of good reviews, which was how to book 35 product manager interviews a week, applying 45 minutes a day. I got about it's essentially an hour video. I'm going to go ahead and break it up, but I'm going to let you know basically what's to go ahead and come. I am going to go ahead and tackle this question about like what does product manager case studies have to go ahead and do with your salary, especially for 2025, exactly why that's going down. In addition to that, the different types of case studies depending if it is a brand new position versus if it's a backfill, which means somebody's just left, where these questions stand right now in terms of the hierarchy of the different types of categories of product management interview questions. And then I'm also going to be going through some of the product manager case study interview with you. I'm going to be breaking them all up into separate videos, so it's not that painful. It's all part of a playlist. So if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go ahead and do so. Now, I largely have everything in this deck, and I'm here for y'all. So you guys let me know if you guys like seeing. Give me some comment, give me some comments or some feedback in the comment section, or definitely DM me on my IG. You guys can go ahead and follow me on my personal Instagram, which is What Bad Economy, coming through to you soon, just following my foodie adventures. If you guys want to also go ahead and just see more of like the actual technical stuff about like, so this is actually the one with like Uber, events, like actually more of a breakdown. Let me know. At the end of the day, I'm here for y'all. Don't forget to go out there and subscribe and join school, people. I cannot stress this enough. You want to go ahead and join school just strictly because we are going to be pairing up mock interview partners every single week we do so. None of this is going to mean a whole lot to you because if it's not delivered with high degree of confidence, it's actually not going to be very good for you during the interview process. Anyway, so let's go ahead and let's get cracking to it. So top 7 product manager case study interview questions 2025 with answers and the salary guide. Okay, so in the hierarchy of getting a product manager job, when you're interviewing with a product manager role, you have to keep a few things in mind. Number one, is it a backfill? Is it a new position? Or is this is the founder a product manager? This is a gigantic red flag where the founder is the product manager, and I'll go ahead and tell you why. I almost, it's kind of weird seeing my circle in these two. And it's just because when you're going in there, you have largely no documentation. There's absolutely nothing there. You're starting there from scratch. It's like watching that show Yellowstone, or you might as well be part of the Elon Musk mission to Mars. You're getting dropped in there, and there's nothing. Like you were starting there from ground zero. So unless you really need a job, just understand this. Whenever you take a product manager role with a company where you are the first product manager, you're going to be working a lot more than the average product manager job. Now, I understand a lot of you may not be in a position where you feel like you can negotiate. And if you got to take a job, but definitely keep on looking. But just know the upside is if they do well, you are the number one hire. You're effectively a product manager with possibly a head of product title. That's how a lot of people get the head of product role. So there's this. New positions is about 7% of the placements that are in the market right now. 92% of the placements that are going down are backfill. The reason for that is the budget has already been approved. Well, Rich, why wouldn't the budget be approved? Why would they be interviewing people if the budget isn't already approved? They would be interviewing people if the budget is not approved for a variety of reasons. Number one is the workload is getting demanding, but it's not overflowing. So they think, it's kind of like sometimes people schedule a call Product Gym. They're kind of trying to make a decision. Can I still do this on my own, or should I pay up the money? Come to school. That's the first starting point. Come to school, right? That is the first starting point. Come through. It's much better to do this with the community. But hiring side, they're actually thinking the same thing. So even though there is a budget that's technically approved, whether or not you can use it is another thing. And those of us who are already in the industry, I already know we can already punch ourselves in the wall. It's like, well, I thought we were good to go for 165. It is. so I can use it. Not exactly. You're like, so what the hell did we spend all that time? So you have 92% of the time, it's going to be a backfill. Now, still, with the backfill, this is actually why it's very important to understand this. They still need to know whether or not you can do the job. So one of the questions I train my people to go out there and ask is like, why is this position open? Did somebody just leave, or is this a brand new role? If somebody just left, you might want to use your judgment as to why did they leave and whether or not you want to press them on that. And that just comes down to how much interview activity. If you have more options, you definitely have a lot more freedom to go ahead and play around. If you don't, then you're going to be thinking to yourself like, maybe I shouldn't ask that question. Maybe it's kind of like I'm kind of presenting myself as somebody that's difficult in a forceful situation. You might not want to do that. If it's a new position, it's, you know, like if it's a new position, the difficult thing about nabbing a new position is nobody really knows what they want because nobody's done the job. So the responsibilities are not very clear of what's expected of that individual. So it's kind of like, well, I want a little bit of this and I want a little bit of this. How does this affect your salary, and how does this affect your case study? Well, I'm going to tell you this. If it's an urgent role, what you will go ahead and see is like they do the case study on the spot. You know, they used to hand over these questions, and they'll hand it over to you, and they'll give you a few days to go ahead and complete it, and you'd make a little presentation off of it. Okay, you'd make a little presentation, and that could be a Google Doc like this for Uber, or it can go out there and get more innovative, like in a slide. We have a stack of this in school if you guys want them. It's in there. And then, you know, we also practice mock interviewing and all that other good stuff. But like those of you that's already part of the program, if you guys don't know how to access it, where to access it, just let me know. I'll get it over to you, because we have like a whole Wikipedia of resources here. But overall, where you have to be kind of cautious is that if it's a backfill, they do it on the spot. So if you ask that question, you know you don't have a lot of days to go out there and plan out. On average, people that are outside of the program, they're spending sometimes like 15, 20 hours doing a case study because nobody's really sharing case studies. So nobody really has, like most people that are going for a job, they have no clear expectation of what the case study is supposed to look like. So they're spending 10 hours of their time just thinking, what do they want to see? Like, do they want to see some drawings? Do they want to see like a doc? And do they want to go ahead and see like a slide? Or do they want to see Canva? How much time should I spend on it? All of that's creating a lot of like confusion. 92%, if it's a backfill, oh yeah, somebody just left, Jane just left, Jerry just left. Okay, then you understand that case study is most likely just going to be like on the spot, or they're going to have a really short turnaround time. If it's a new position, there's also something else that you can tell with the case studies. Companies that have you do the case study before you even talk to anybody, that's a new position. Because if they were urgent to hire, because most people wouldn't even do it. They've already accounted for the fact that most people would just say, F you, I haven't talked to anybody yet. I don't know what the salary is. I don't know what you're quoted is the real thing, or is it a fabricated number, or you inflated the number, or you deflated the number later, right? I don't even know what it is that I'm going to be working on, money aside. So they're expecting people to not do case studies, because even some of my people that are not even working right now, they're not even doing it. They're like, I don't advise it to. I'm all about volume, but where I draw the line is if a company is asking you to do a case study before you even got a chance to talk to anybody, and like if it's before recruiter, double red flag, throw it down the toilet, shred it, forget it ever existed, go ahead and go watch like an episode of like Inception and like just erase that from your memory. If after talking to the recruiter, you need to go ahead and do a case study just to talk to somebody on the product side, definitely go ahead and investigate that too. These are all these different nuances because it's going to show you how urgent they are. But companies where it's a brand new role, they can afford to go ahead and actually wait. So what do you want to go ahead and the time with like where the 1% is the founder, they're so ready to have somebody take over for the founder that they almost always never really issue out a case study because they most likely haven't really done one themselves when they were looking for a product manager job, or maybe the starter founder has never ever been a product manager but has acted in the product management capacity up until now. So how does that affect you and your salary? Well, I'm going to go out there and tell you right now. Since kind of the this transition of like 2021 until now, 2021 was like the last good year of tech, and then now it's like gotten like wildly volatile, right? We've had like 60% behavioral questions, 25% to like strategy and like metrics based questions, 15% technical questions. This has been downplayed a lot, but if I was to update this number some more, like even this number right here, like it's gotten to like closer to 80%, sometimes even 90% behavioral questions because the market's constantly changing. So how does that affect your salary? Okay, your salary has pretty much, from a recruiting perspective, is largely linked to your ability to deliver your case study. And we're talking about your case study response time. How fast did you turn that thing around? We're talking about the quality of your presentation, your ability to go out there and communicate, which is why you want to be with mock interview partners. People ask us for like these decks and all that kind of shit. And I'm just like, what are you going to do with it? Because me watching Michael Phelps swim on YouTube is very different than me actually swimming alongside Michael Phelps inside the swimming pool. You actually have to deliver it. If your delivery of the case study is actually not good, you won't be getting into one of these types of companies that we've gotten our people a product manager job at, which is I think what it is that you want. If there's levels of like nervousness, you're stuttering, you're rambling, it's not sounding smooth, it doesn't sound concise, you don't feel confident, that's also another thing. Case studies that are very detailed and also very, very long has almost always not gotten people the product manager job, because they're like, if this person had that much time to do it, that means they're not interviewing with any other companies. That means they don't have any other options. That means they're probably not going to be a very good fit here. You want to go ahead and be detailed enough, but not be so detailed. I see some people work like all week. They shut down all their interviews. That's just exuding desperation, which is why you want to come through here, because that's kind of one of our hacks, right? I don't know if you guys got a chance to see my other video where like when I took a picture with like Gary Vaynerchuk, I was like, how do we go out there? I'm like, how do we go out there and double up revenue? And he's like, double up your placements and you'll double up revenue. And I was like, well, he's like, what's the biggest bottleneck to placements? Is it like you guys don't have enough people coming in? I was like, no, a lot of people want to be a product manager. And he's like, so why don't you guys have more placements? And I was like, a lot of these hiring managers, they don't know who it is that they want. And he's like, well, the best person to actually determine who it is that they want is actually, we call them rejection referrals in the business, in our community. He's like, the best person to determine who it is that they want is actually the person that just got done interviewing with them. So if you just get your people to throw back into the pot, hey, I just got rejected. Hey, you're interviewing at that company? Here, I actually tell people, hand over that case study, because you're not going to be using it anymore anyways, right? So great job putting together. But it actually comes back, because every time somebody threw their case study, and I've been doing this for 8 years, so every single time somebody's been throwing in their case study back into the pot, I can promise you this much. I promise you this much in the program, because people worked on it. It's like, yeah, but you're not, for whatever reason, it didn't work out, right? Like, doesn't matter if it's like company like Hulu or like Venmo, it's like they always end up getting something better. So like, you just gotta believe like in the manifestation that everybody has a plan. So, keep that in mind. I'm going to go through all these questions right now, but before I go ahead and get started, I'm going to go ahead and actually say this at the top of the playlist. So if anybody comes after me, is like, that's not the, meta like case study, or like, I need more. Here's kind of the thing. I'm going to give you some tips and some best practices. That's a typo. Okay, if you guys have more product manager case studies you want me to go through and show you kind of like how I, if we have something in the locker or the vault, like I'm more than happy to help anybody out. See me in school, because I'm getting blown up like hardcore. It doesn't matter if you're not mocking it out and you actually like, they're looking at your presentation skills, because making presentations and getting your point across, that is a product management skill. And it's not so much that they want to see how it is that you present to them. It's how do we get you to get a yes from other people? Like if you're interviewing for startups and we put you in charge of a project as a product manager, can we trust that we can send you to talk to the investors? So I, as the head or director of product, does not need to do that, or I, as a startup founder, does not need to do that. Can you go out there and close a deal for us, essentially, right? Can you go out there and talk to the customer for us? These are the things that they're weighing out versus somebody else that they're going to go out there and hire. So this is actually very, very, very important. So like practice like mock interviewing. I think you only really need 50 to 70 mocks where you're actually good. Companies mix and match product manager case studies all the time. It's not uncommon for we had somebody interview for Google and they said, how would you improve Spotify? And there's like, because our people do so many interviews here. They're like, hey, am I interviewing at Spotify? Like, no, you're interviewing at Google, but how would you improve Spotify? Get ready to go ahead and actually talk about those days and expect the unexpected. That's why getting this much practice, the case studies is one of the things that hold people down the most, and companies know that. That's why how well you handle that pressure largely depends on your, it has a direct correlation with your salary. Remember, like, how fast is your turnaround time, right? When they drill you and they grill you on these questions, they want to see how it is that you operate under pressure. They want to see how it is that, okay, can you whiteboard that for us really quick? They want to see how it is that you respond, whether or not you really know your shit. And a lot of people, they buy books like Cracking the PM Interview, and then they study that, and it's just like, then now they have to present it, and they're like, oh, what am I supposed? It's different. Reading and presenting are two different things. Studying and interviewing are two different things. And you got to get better at mocking. If you can't do it here, you're going to get killed out there. Startups and mid-sized companies, they also reuse case studies. This is also something that I hear all the time, is that people say like, well, I'm not going for any of those bigger level companies. Yes, but you also have to understand this. Those smaller companies, they see the big boys using that and they want to use it. They're like, it's good enough for Google, it's good enough for us. And also, a lot of the heads and director of product at the startup level, they come from the bigger level companies because they don't want to work at big tech anymore. If you're at the startup or mid-sized companies, you want to work at big tech because maybe you never got a chance to go in there. You're just curious what it's like in there, so you do a year or 2 years out there. Some people straight out of like university or straight out of MBA program, they went into big tech and they go in there. And it's always going to be the situation where the grass is like greener on the other side. I'm like reminded of like this one actor who also writes. He played like the director of CIA on Homeland. They asked him like, do you like being an actor more, or do you like being like a screenwriter more? And he was like, oh man, when I'm in an air conditioned room and I'm trying to write out these lines by myself, and it's just like, oh, I'm all alone here. It'd be so much more fun to be out there and like actually interacting with people and having the dialogue. And he's like, when I'm out there, like actually in front of the camera, it's like, oh, I got to come in. I got to come ready to go. I got to be in character. I got to be prepared. You got to be, it's a physical job, right? He's like, oh, it's so much nicer. I can just wake up whenever I want, roll out in my underwear. And if I feel like typing today, I type. If not, I can just kind of lounge out as long as I meet the deadline. It's always going to feel like that. So don't think that just because you're interviewing at a smaller level company that you can get away with the case studies. Because again, your salary is largely going to go ahead and be determined on how well you go out there and present these case studies. And I'm going to add in another tip in there. It's like, ask for more information. A lot of times, I'm actually going to throw in here, this Reddit case study is a trick question, and I'm going to walk you through. I'm not saving it like the best for last. I'm just going to walk you through exactly what they're going to want to hear. Like, if there's not enough information on the case study, I've seen case studies where it's just a one-liner and people are like, how do I go out there and attack that? You know what they're doing? Like in the office, they're like actually laughing at people, thinking like, let's just see what these people come up with. I've seen so many people be afraid to ask for more information when they clearly don't have enough information, and they end up killing their interview. And this is actually where we just have to bring some common sense back into the field. It's like, well, Rich, like what do you think I'm missing? I don't know. You're missing like a whole Google Doc, because what do you like? It just says this one liner out there. What do you think you're gonna say? So it was for Uber. We actually ended up asking for some more information. They're like, we're waiting for somebody to call us. Ended up giving us 9 pages worth of notes that ended up giving us that much more information, ammunition to go out there and take down the interview. But why would you fly from New York to San Francisco to botch an interview? It just does not make sense. They don't care on that side because they're not spending money on your hotel, on a crappy hotel in SF, by the way. They're not spending, but it's not out of their pocket. It's spending money on flights. So ask for more information. If you don't have enough information to either make a decision or take action, That is also very, very, very bad. And I actually want to go ahead and end it out with this. They don't need product managers in 2025 and we'll be like, okay, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. It's like, if it doesn't seem like the right move, you should actually step up and say something instead of just saying, oh, like, yeah, I can. Like, no, if it's not the right move, don't say anything. Say, like, you don't have enough information. Say this is the wrong course of action. It's so hilarious how, like, unable, the lack of ability for somebody to make a decision right now. I was at F45 gym. They're talking about intermittent fasting. There was a person there. I'm not even going to name out the gender. And there was this person said, well, like, I heard intermittent fasting is good, but what if I'm really hungry? Then eat. But I'm not supposed to eat. Then don't eat. Like, yeah, if it's like there's the health benefits, and are you going to be able to do it 7 days out of the week, 365 days out of the year? Probably not. If you got to eat, eat. If you feel starving, I mean, it's not North Korea. Eat, you know? So, like, you have to be willing to go out there and play with it. Ultimately, product manager case studies, a lot of time it's thrown together too at the last minute. They're just like, oh shit. They're like they're at round three. Like, I mean, unless you have enough information to hire them, you need them case study, make a presentation on that, right? So there's a lot that I can unpack case studies basically all day. Send your case studies to me in school. I'll knock it down for you, or I'll give you some better direction. Or if I have it in the vault, in the vault somewhere, I go out there and see if I can get you a copy or like a reference or something. But people overthink case studies, and last but definitely not least, that's why I need people in mock interview groups. Is like, the way you get better at case studies is not by watching videos, it's by interacting, because that's what they're buying, is your confidence when you're delivering a case study. Too many people out there, they're just like, they take all this wonderful notes, type it up, pop it into ChatGPT, and it looks beautiful, but you're not going to present that. Like, now we have to actually have a conversation. And that's why I tell people to pack up their calendar with more interviews, because the more desperate you look, the lack of options that you present that you have, you will present yourself as a nervous, desperate candidate with no options, in which case we should not hire you. The confidence, your resume and your LinkedIn, and largely to a certain degree, your cover letter or how you apply, that's going to get you the interview. Your interview responses are going to get you an offer. Your offer number that comes out comes directly from your case study. Okay, so with all that said, let's go ahead and knock out some case studies, have some fun. Okay, let's get it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and see me in school to get paired up with mock interview partners. This information does nothing for you without mock interview partners. See you in school. Don't be late to school.